Ladies and gentlemen, we are live and broadcasting worldwide. John B. Wells is coming up. We'll take calls in this hour. Into the next hour, we're going to talk about all the latest scandals on the IRS, the wiretapping, the police state, and really the big news. Military says no presidential authorization needed to quell civil disturbances. Man, that is a military-industrial complex total coup d'etat. That's what Eisenhower warned of. And I mean, right now, this even blew me away. And I mean, why not? They said NATO commands our military now. So why not just say now that this is Vichy French stuff? And that's why every sports show, every show worship the military. It isn't take care of the people that are in the military. It's create a cult of the military, do whatever it says, as they train for war against us. God almighty. And I'm not using the Lord's name in vain. I'm crying out to God. You know, I just repent to God for everything I've done, even though I try to be a good person. My gut instinct is just get right with God. I tell you, man, this is really bad. You read what they're getting ready for, civil collapse and all this stuff. Man, they're going to kill the dollar. They're going to hammer down. And let me tell you, this spoiled, rotten general public's going to go absolutely ape. Globalists know exactly what they're doing. And I've been too close to this too long. I mean, I'm not even really prepared and ready for this. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm tired of evil. I'm sick of evil being sold as sexy. Evil is a child sitting there in burnt brown, yellow grass, emaciated with their ribs sticking out with buzzards waiting for them to collapse and die. That's your sexiness of your evil. And I wish this could be stopped. You know, I get up here with bravado and just get real cynical and dark satire and try to bull my way through all this. And the reason InfoWars has been successful despite all the odds is people who have discernment know I'm totally for real. That's why every cosmology created out there by the enemy is that I'm not real, because they're not real and they hate it. They have sold their souls, and they hate me because I still have my soul. And let me tell you something, and that's the answer to everything. They hate you because you have a soul. They hate you because you value genuineness and honorableness and steadfastness. They hate you because you didn't sell out. That's why they hate good people, and they're never going to stop till they've killed every one of us. You understand that? Who did the Soviets go after? They go after their own communists if they found out it was somebody who was really good, who just played along, and who didn't enjoy it. And they'd go after other evil people that they were afraid of because they were so evil. They go after everybody. There's no peace. There's no rest for the wicked. All there is hell on earth. And I see too much, man. Let me tell you, I know why people don't want to see this. I know why people want to be dumbed down and want to go get drunk to forget the whole world. Because being alive is the biggest trip of all. Being aware. Having clarity. Clarity is so hardcore, people just can't handle it. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth, to quote a famous movie.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
It is the 17th day, ladies and gentlemen, of May 2013. We've got 2 hours left. We're now into the second hour. I know XM Channel 244 joins us and a lot of other AM and FM affiliates. We're going to be joined in the balance of the hour by John B. Wells, Saturday host and very popular host of Coast to Coast AM. And I love their whole team over there, but just amazing guy. And, of course, he's got a professional voice talent, one of the top voice talents in the country. So it's not hard on the ears like listening to my show. And we're going to be talking to him about all these scandals and more in a moment. But I've got to tell listeners, if you go up to Infowars.com, right now there is giant breaking news. The Army has come out, and it showed up in the U.S. Code that they're now saying they're outside of Congress and the president during any civil disturbance, widespread or localized civil disturbances. They're calling it a rule change and an instruction. Now, DOD is telling people now you can't have your plastic 3D printable gun. No law, no nothing. The DOD orders you, Cody Wilson, last week, do not do this. They are now, they call it an instruction, but it's now showed up in the U.S. Code. And they are, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it was bombshell, seismic, if you know world history and the Constitution, last year when the DOD in 3 different congressional hearings, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, including the Chairman Dempsey, told Congress, we don't need you for appropriations. We don't need you for war-making authority or any response. We get that from NATO. It'd be bad enough if he said from the president, who does not make war, who they execute what Congress says, because you don't want a dictator. I mean, that's treason, red alert, insane, third world dictatorship, North Korea, you know, run screaming for the hills. I mean, if you try that in communist China, they arrest you. You know, I mean, it's at least got to be the big party group. I mean, this is dictatorship. Now, what Eisenhower warned of, the undue influence, whether sought or unsought, of the military-industrial complex, controlled by a technocratic scientific elite. That was the full quote. And folks, they're now saying the DOD, and they've been all over marking their territory. Every town, every city, checkpoints, black helicopter raids, buying off police chiefs, Delta Force running free speech zones, beating people up in Seattle. I told an Esquire writer that. He didn't believe me because he was there. He went and looked at him and goes, it's in all the newspapers at that time. I never heard that. Oh, really? You didn't hear that? I've interviewed the police chiefs, 15 years ago of major cities like San Antonio, where Delta Force shows up and goes, we want you to be our friend. Here's $100 grand. The police chief says, excuse me, I was in the Army in Vietnam and intelligence. Are you trying to, buy me in a clandestine operation? You're going to do a special forces operation on me to buy me to join you? And they said, we're sorry you feel that way. And it turned out he thought it was a test of loyalty. But he was still like, the Army shouldn't be involved. And then he found out, no. The mayor, the fire chief, they all took the money. What did the Vichy French do? They, for 5 years, Hitler quietly bought off 9 out of 10 of the general staff of the French military. The French just stood down. The Blitzkrieg was not even real. They went after the British Expeditionary Force that was there and ran them to Dunkirk. This is all mainline history. The French stood down. 2 weeks into the attack, Hitler went to Paris to survey it. Went to the Eiffel Tower, went to the tomb of Napoleon. And that's how they took over Iraq in 2003. They bought off the general staff, the Iraqis. 90+% again stood down, same number. They bought them off. Then everybody down to privates got cash. Private, here's $5,000 for doing a good job. Captain, here's $50,000 for doing a good job. General, here's $5 million. They did that to corrupt everybody. America cares about you. We flew in $50 million. We're going to serve it up to you. And then after that, they said, now you're going to run narcotics back into America, or we're going to report that 50 grand you got, Captain. The captain says, well, I didn't know you set me up. I'm not going to do that. Really? Can you talk to me in your office for a minute? Captain, get that file out for me. Boom! Right in the back of the head. Thousands of officers suicided. Boom! Yeah! Yeah! All on record. That all came out. That's what runs America. And now they've come out and said the military will do whatever it wants in America outside of the president and outside of Congress. And who runs the military? NATO. 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 That's why we've had guests on that really represent the Pentagon saying stuff to Obama lately. that would just blew me away. That's what's going on here. And that's all crystallizing now, ladies and gentlemen. This country is in the middle of a power struggle over who gets to be dictator. I mean, we are in incredible trouble. John B. Wells, I appreciate you coming on. Keep you a little bit in the next hour if you can do it. Got you on a little bit late here, jbwells.com. He is the Saturday host of coast-to-coast-am.com, in addition to serving as an announcer for CBS, The Late Show with Craig Kilborn. Wells has lent his voice to Oliver Stone's JFK, talk radio films, and appeared in several other movies. I'm not going to go over his whole deal. The Deadliest Catch and Gold Rush. Love his voice, love his mind even more. And he's just been kicking butt at coast-to-coast-am.com. He's got Caravan to midnight.com. What a great name, as one of his other sites. And he joins us. You know, I just went into that breaking news, sir, and we'll get into all the other news. But what do you make of that John B. Wells tied into the billions of bullets, the armored vehicles, all of it?
I think this country, Alex, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the program. It's good to talk with you. I wish we could chat more often, simply because on your program, we pretty much get to let it all hang out, to use that term from the dinosaurs, the dinosaur age. But what do I make of it? I think this country is in a terrible state of denial. I really do. I think that John Lennon's song about keep them dope with religion and sex and TV, and you think you're so clever and classless and free, but you're still bleeping peasants as far as I can see. A working class hero is something to be. And I think we've been doped with religion and sex and TV. And when I say religion, I don't mean faith. I mean religion. And this is so beautifully orchestrated. Somebody, either there really is one great dark power that runs this earth, as is stated in the Holy Scriptures.
Oh, it's not human. No, exactly. The more I study it, it is a entity. It is. Call it whatever you want. A dark force is running this. And that's what I've come down to, is I'm facing this thing, and I just wish people knew how much peril they're in, John.
Well, the thing about it is, Alex, is what we have to remember is the ones who get it, and the ones who don't get it are never going to get it. And I'm afraid that's just the cold, hard, harsh reality. We would like to think that we'll wake them up, we'll enlighten them, we'll rise up as one people, and we'll quell this evil, but a lot of people are just going to go right along with it. This is something that I find very interesting, not to stray too far away, because you ask a question, what do I make of all this? I think there's about to be a war against the civilian population, and I'll tell you why. Everywhere you go, if you look at every false flag operation through history, from the battleship Maine to the Lusitania to Pearl Harbor to the Gulf of Tonkin to 9/11, on and on and on, these false flags were all in furtherance of developing a war-like atmosphere. And what happens when you have a war going on? Well, the citizens die, the leaders largely are preserved, and it's business as usual. I mean, Germany was a highly sophisticated, still is, in those days, was a highly sophisticated society, music, literature, art, everything. And virtually the entire place was destroyed. Look at them now. They're the ones propping up the entire European Union. So people die and business goes on, which goes back to the scripture. And I don't want to turn this into a sermon, but it's like the love of money is the root of all evil. And this is all about money. And when you look at the money that has been made from these ongoing undeclared wars, such as Vietnam, Korea even, less, to a lesser extent, but still Korea as well, and now this ongoing war on terror, you can see that wherever there's chaos, you know that expression, follow the chaos. That's where the opportunity is. I'm thinking that the Middle East may be close to being tapped out. China and Russia got the oil deals. We didn't. It was all about oil in Iraq, but no, I don't think we got into the oil. We're still exporting oil. And I'm thinking the next big playground, the next big boom town, sorry about the pun, is going to be the U.S. I think that tearing down this society and then rebuilding it is going to mean big bucks for somebody.
I totally agree with you, and it is very saddening to see it unfolding. But I think at the same time it's part of a test of society and culture. And this is what makes humanity great, is the adversity. And it's been, the liberty we had was so great, we became fat, dumb, and happy generationally. And so the checks and balances were so great that it held it back for a long time. But the evil grew in the secret places and got very big. And now it's out in the open. And people who've been in denial are so invested in saying that it isn't real that now they're going to deny things even as the country burns.
Well, look what's going on up there in these hearings. Look at this so-called attorney general. And look, you know, I realize that opening my big mouth like this, and I'm happy to be in league with you in this regard, because you don't hold back, and I kind of have to, unless I'm able to come on with you. But let's look at this attorney general.
Let's stay there. Let's hear. Let's get into the current scandals with John B. Wells of CoastToCoastAM.com. Straight ahead, I'm Alex Jones of Infowars.com. This is not a game, folks.
Introducing a 30-day emergency food supply for only $99. At 30dayfoodsupply.com, you can purchase Oregon Trail Foods' 1-month supply of high-quality, nutritious, and healthy emergency meals for less than $100. These vegetarian meals are all natural, non-GMO, high in carbs and protein, and are packed with oxygen absorbers in Mylar pouches. They take up to 70% less space than number 10 cans, have a 20-year shelf life, and huge portions, over twice the serving size of some competitors' meals. Oregon Trail Foods and 30dayfoodsupply.com keep prices low by buying direct from producers in Oregon and then pass the savings on to you. Purchase a 30-day, 90-serving emergency food supply for only $99 this month, and $10 ships your entire order to the lower 48. Call 541-673-6666 or visit 30dayfoodsupply.com, where they make preparedness affordable. 30dayfoodsupply.com. Got it? Get it. Go to 30dayfoodsupply.com.
Imagine waking one morning only to find your family shivering in the dark because you couldn't afford to pay your electric bill. That's closer than you think. You probably haven't heard about this yet because the liberal media has been suppressing what is fast becoming the most shocking news story of 2012. Obama's secret war on coal that could increase your already high power bill as much as 400% in coming months. As shocking as it sounds, it may well be just a matter of time before the lights start going out across America. But here's some good news. There's an underground video at exposed123.com that thousands of smart patriots have used to end their slavery to the corrupt electricity monopoly. The video at exposed123.com has already been banned by Google, and the liberal media is doing everything in its power to take it down and keep America in the dark. So watch it now at exposed123.com before it's too late. Again, that's exposed123.com.
HempUSA.org has a revolutionary wonder food for detoxing the body and rebuilding the immune system. Microplant powder can help unclog arteries and soften heart valves while removing heavy metals, virus, fungus, bacteria, and parasites. Plus, it cleans and purifies the blood, lungs, stomach, and colon. Keep your body clean with Microplant powder. Order today at 888-910-4367 or visit HempUSA.org.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gate, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. Get your Pro Pure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. John B. Wells, host of Coast to Coast AM Saturdays, joins us right now. You were getting into the scandal that's deepening right now. Of course they're using the IRS to harass libertarians and patriots. Of course they are. You know, the lady that ran it all is now over Obamacare. Now they're going to share your medical records everywhere. You know, they're saying our military is run by NATO and is now even above the president. Well, why not? That's what it was when they said last year NATO was over it. And if they just say it in a lawyerly way, we're now in basically a military coup d'etat. And to quote Carlos from Hop, which is French for coup d'etat, you know, some gallows humor there. So, John B. Wells, you were getting to that point. Go ahead.
Well, I just think that we're in a cold civil war right now. I really do, and I know that's dangerous talk. I don't think I'm doing myself, and maybe not even you, as vocal as you are about these issues, any favors by saying something like that. But I would submit to you that we are in a cold civil war. It just hasn't happened yet. You have a president up there that does nothing but deny. You have an attorney general that goes all the way back to the Oklahoma bombing. Wasn't he assistant attorney general under Clinton? He didn't know anything. He didn't know anything about Fast and Furious. Didn't know anything about Benghazi. Didn't know anything about the IRS scandal. He didn't know anything about anything. He's just deny, 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 deny. Alex, I bought a book, and I've got a little story for you here in a minute. It's a quick one. I bought a little book. Cost me $50. I found one copy on Amazon. And so I bought it. It's called My New Order by Adolf Hitler. And it's mostly his speeches. If you get this book and you read it, you will see that you are experiencing virtually the same thing that's printed on these pages. But here's something else. A friend of mine in Germany, you know, I would tease him all the time about this and that, Nazi this, Nazi that. And among the things that he told me, just pieces over the years, were that he and his wife, if they speak in their dialect, their little colloquialisms and slang, the people who speak what they call bookish German have no idea what he's talking about. So I stored that piece of data. Then he said that even his dad said, why do you have to speak so bookish? And I stored that piece of data because Dad thought he was just being a little bit too uptight. Then this gal came over from Munich. She was a yoga girl. And my friend said, Stephanie speaks very bookish German. Then eventually we started talking, we just brought up Mein Kampf, and he said, John, that book made no sense to me whatsoever. I could not understand anything that he was trying to write. The years went by, and it came up again, and he said, John, I read Mein Kampf in English, and it made so much sense to me. And I thought, you mean you understood what was being written? He said, yes. I thought to myself, I wonder if that means that it was originally written in English and translated into German, in which case, how deep do these roots go?
Wow. It's funny you bring that up. We were talking yesterday about mainline history, but it's not popularly known that our government and the British government actually funded Hitler in his rise, and that he had a peace treaty with the British and a deal with the King of England, Edward VIII, to launch World War II, and then England was going to join him, and then they double-crossed him. And that's like mainline history, but it's not on History Channel.
That's right. And Wallace Simpson had nothing to do with Edward's abdication so that George could take over. Nothing at all. It's because it was generally known in those circles that Edward and Adolf were buddy-buddy, and they were.
Well, yeah, he was German. But I mean, again, you're informed. It wasn't about the divorce, but the general public's like, the British were Nazis? Take Prince Philip, his cousin, the head of the Netherlands. He was an SS officer.
Pretty small club, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, founder of the Bilderberg Group.
Well, these people have the capacity to make very, very long-range plans. Most citizens make a plan that's the length of their latest car loan. But these people plan 50 years, 100 years. They understand that to shape a global society, it's going to take a minute to do that, because they'll be met with resistance if they try and push the agenda too quickly. So they just push it slowly. It appears that we may perhaps have been, and may in future even more so, take orders from the United Nations. And I think we know that everywhere the United Nations shows up with their blue helmets and their rifles, chaos and hell comes with them. So since when did we start taking orders from the United Nations? Since when does some universal arms treaty apply to us? Well, I don't know. The only way that we can turn this around is to make our lists and do everything that we possibly can to remove people in office who shouldn't be there. We can do this, but someone has to do the legwork. Someone has to do the research.
Exactly. And the general public has to have a psychological and spiritual break with these globalists. Many anthropologists and archaeologists believe that before man even discovered the power to harness and use fire, we were involved in agrarian activities. That is, taking the seeds of plants and then replanting them to produce more. The very foundation of our modern civilization and human culture is centered around the planting and cultivation of edible plants, fruits, vegetables, nuts, you name it. And the globalists have been going after gardening. They've been harassing people that have gardens in their front yards or their backyards. They've called for licenses for people to have gardens because you can't trust prisoners in the police state America to be able to grow their own food. That's why I've come to the realization that we need to become self-sufficient. You need to be informed. You need to have the Second Amendment to protect yourself. You need to be politically active to wake up others. You need to filter your water. But you also need to plant a garden. Even if you live in an apartment, you can do this. If you live in the countryside, obviously you can do it on a grand scale. There are so many green belts in areas that humans don't even visit, nearby cities and in suburbs, where people are now more and more planting their own little private gardens and meadows and off the side of the road. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a revolutionary act to unplug from the television, to unplug from the computer and all the globalist propaganda, and to go out in your backyard or your front yard or planters at your apartment or on the roof of the building where you live, and to plant a garden.
Here are some of the amazing deals at InfoWars Seed Center at InfoWarsShop.com. The Survival Seed Vault by My Patriot Supply features only the finest survival heirloom seeds for a robust and hardy garden, even in the toughest of times. The ARC All-in-One Seed Kit contains 70 varieties of 50,000 seeds of fruits, vegetables, medicinal, and culinary herbs. All ARC seeds are heirloom. Each type is labeled and sealed separately for ease of use and longevity. The Deluxe Emergency Seed Bank combines 3 of Emergency Seed Bank's top sellers: the Family Survival Emergency Seed Bank, the Medicinal Herb Seeds Pack, and the Culinary Herb Seeds Pack. We also have starter varieties of the deluxe seed packages for fruit, salad, salsa, peppers, and medicinal herbs and more. Go to the InfoWars Seed Center at InfoWarsShop.com.
A little seed can grow a huge tree that produces fruit for up to 50 years. We have the best life bombs. That's what these are. We have the best weapons against death out there at the lowest prices, waiting for you to lovingly plant them and lovingly grow them and lovingly eat them and share them with others. We will strike back against the New World Order, and this is only one more initiative in our fight against them. So please join us at InfoWarsShop.com, or you can link through at Infowars.com at the InfoWars Seed Center. I tell you, it is really a crazy world. We are going back to our guest, who I hope can stay with us a little bit in the next hour and ride shotgun and take phone calls today. Amazing talk show host. Whenever I'm out driving around on Saturday night or then on Sunday night, because they re-air it locally the next night, I love to listen to John B. Wells. And he has a lot of courage, too, because I've been a guest on his show. He has a lot of other patriots on his broadcast, and it's just, you know, on over 500 affiliates. So he reaches probably every night 5 million people, 6 million people when he does the Saturday show. So it's just wonderful to have him there doing that. John, I'm ranting, and I got a bunch of news, obviously, to cover. Here it all is. IRS stalled conservatives groups getting 501c3 or others, but gave speedy approval to Obama foundations. Agency used planted questions to reveal scandal. Well, of course, I mean, in the Eastern Germany, you know, the party members decided which women could be stars and demanded sex from all of them. That's what having government run things is like. Absolutely not illegal is what the White House is now saying, the scum house. Is this still America? Charles Rangel outraged, wrong to abuse the tax system. in charge during Tea Party. Targeting now runs IRS Obamacare office. Of course they're going to use your medical records and leak them to the press. They've already done that. IRS henchwoman got $103,000 in bonuses for raking people over the coals. That's the kind of stuff up on drudgereport.com. You know, spying on the media, spying on the cloakroom. It just goes on and on what's going on. And then meanwhile, military says no presidential authorization needed to quell civil disturbances. That is the equivalent of a nuclear bomb going off in D.C. I mean, it's bad enough to say NATO's in charge. Now the military's in charge themselves, but they say they follow orders from NATO. That's a narcotics trafficking, Bilderberg group, Nazi-founded organization. That's what I'm saying, man. We're overrun, and I'm ranting. You've got the floor.
Well, I wish I could rant like that. So I appreciate being able to do it by proxy, Alex. It's absolutely unbelievable. And the thing is that it's you know that thing about one bad apple can spoil the barrel.
Yes,
that's really true. The strident liberals. I mean, I get an email every once in a while going, "You're just a right winger." It's like given a choice between the right wing and the left, I'm most assuredly a right-winger. I heard McDermott today say in those hearings, as much as I don't like the right wing, and I thought to myself, well, McDermott, you have traditionally been an idiot, and I don't know how you remain in power. But I began to wonder, what is it about the right that you don't like exactly? They foment lies. That is their stock in trade. Oh, the Tea Party, that's a bunch of racists. I have seen no racism whatsoever, nothing at any of those gatherings of the Tea Partiers. Oh, they want to play it. And all they have to do is just going back to dear old Uncle Adolf. All you have to do is continue to beat that drum. And some of these people, enough of them to make a difference, are going to go along with it. But yes, we have been hijacked by a criminal regime. End of story. It's been visibly corrupt since the Kennedy assassination. But we're distracted. We're distracted with one war after another. What happened to North Korea? I put out over at Coast to Coast AM, I said, my source, and it's a good one, and I cannot name him. You only have my word for it, but I've given it to you. There are things going on behind the scenes. You won't be hearing anything from, I'm paraphrasing here, you won't be hearing much out of Kim Jong-un in the very near future. And what happened? He just drops right off the scope, and he's gone. Not another word about it. 1 minute he's threatening Austin, L.A., and every place else, threatening Japan, all that. The next minute he's gone. Well, why is that? It's because China pulled the chain on his money. That's what this is all about. This is all about money. And these people are going to soak the citizens of this nation for everything they can. Everything. They will disarm us if it comes down to it. They will pit the races against each other, and the liberals will continue to push this ridiculous immigration reform. You know what my immigration reform is? Go home now. All illegal aliens must leave now, just like any other country. You can't just come here and just decide, well, we like it here. All 11, they say 11 million. I'm thinking more like 30 million. Oh, we're going to run across the border and have a baby. Now the baby's a citizen. He's an anchor baby. We're here. That's just wrong. Why are they doing that?
Mexico doesn't let you do that. And again, the government's then there to try to make them clients of the government or the political takeover, and then they use it to create a national ID card for the citizens. Again, right. I mean, all these bills are piggybacked with a bunch of other garbage. And notice they're trying to get everything passed right now. And the military talks about massive, widespread disturbances that are so bad, for the first time in history, the president or the Congress may not be there to respond to it. During the Cold War, they didn't have this on the books. What do you think they're getting ready for?
Well, I still think this economic collapse, going back to the money thing, I think the money is the trigger for everything. I was just looking at this thing called The Trader's Wire, and it's the article is 10 scenes from the ongoing global economic collapse. 27% unemployment, 60% youth unemployment in Greece. Detroit, Michigan is insolvent, rapidly running out of cash. Economic despair in France. 7,000 abandoned buildings in Dayton, Ohio. Overwhelmed by squatters in Spain. The collapse of Chinese power consumption. Horrible economic data coming out of the second largest economy on the planet. That would be China. 1 out of every 5 U.S. households on food stamps. Child hunger in America. The tremendous suffering of hundreds of millions of people, desperately poor people that we never even heard about.
Cities are going bankrupt all over the country, not just Detroit. And then you'll have city managers paid $800,000.
Yes. You know, Alex, I think what we should do is invoke that old radio bumper from back in the Stone Age, which is tell your friends about InfoWars. Tell your friends to wake up. Pull your friends into it. One person can pull, like you alluded to earlier, 10, 15 people, 10 or 15 of their friends into it. People thought that I was completely just, looking for trouble, looking for some sort of a conspiracy somewhere. But over the last 3 years, there's a new little circle of friends that I developed. They're saying, what you said actually came to pass. I said, oh, yes, and there's much more. Educate yourself. Don't listen. Don't repeat things like a parrot. Go to the net and go look for yourself. But Alex, the thing that I find extraordinary is there is still some underlying credibility that mainstream media has. Now, I popped off last Saturday night and said that of the 4 major news outlets, excluding, I'm talking about the network people, I liked Fox the best because at least they'll talk about it. The other ones won't even talk about it. And then when you look at Bill Gates, and his MSNBC, I'm sure that most people do not know that means Microsoft NBC, and
yes.
It does. Well, people they don't believe it. You say that to them, and they don't believe it. And they say things like, and you know this, that Alex Jones must work for the CIA because, he's still walking around out there. It's Alex Jones's visibility that keeps him safe. And I intend to keep you as visible as possible. And you can trust me on this, brother. Unless they get me at the same time, if anything happens to you, you're going to have a crew of some real serious cats trying to find out what happened to you. So
well, I appreciate it, brother. That feels good. That's why I try to, hook up with other great people like you. I try to promote other people over the years to try to fight the globalists because I know how real it is. You know how real it is. And yeah, that's what Jim Garrison said, of course, of JFK fame. He said, look, they said, why are you still alive? And everybody else is dead. Because I'm visible. People think hiding and groveling gives them protection from mafias and gangs. It's the opposite. They go after the low-lying, cowardly fruit.
Well, that's true. And, I read a very, very interesting article. I think it came from the UK Daily Mail. Now, this is not picking on people who don't eat their Wheaties, so to speak. But according to a study conducted by a British Scientific Institute, I'd get into it here, but I'll be doing the same thing Rubio did with his bottle of water. It seems that their study revealed that physically strong men are more inclined to be on the right, while not physically strong men are inclined to be for the welfare state and for just a generally socialistic environment. Now, their study did not reveal any difference whatsoever in women who were either physically fit, physically strong women, or the more petite ones who don't work out all the time, except maybe just keep themselves toned. As we consume these poisonous foods, and as we are encouraged to participate in behavior that is not really very good for us, I think we're developing more weakness generally. And when you make people weak and you give them health problems, now this is getting out on the fringe a little bit, but once you've contributed enough to the poor health condition of the population, they're going to drift toward, please take care of me. I'm not strong enough to take care of myself. I went to a rock and roll concert, just to say I did, last week, and I was appalled at my generation's physical condition. These people were so overweight and looked so unhealthy, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Even the younger ones looked a little rough. But I mean, this
I saw that study you were talking about, and in the rats that they feed GMO, even if they exercise them, they get fat because the body's kind of putting it on. as a defense mechanism. And you're absolutely right. I mean, in animal husbandry, you feed aggressive species of domesticated animals certain diets that are known to make them more passive, and that's it. Men and women that are statist are usually so cowardly, they really believe the state loves them and is their daddy. And see, that's their daddy, and they're perpetual children. Well, the men are children of the state. The women are the ladies of the state. The state is their husband. And that's actually how the Romans 2,000 years ago in slave manuals that I've covered on air described it. The women we marry to the state, and then the men will be perpetual children under the house slave that is the woman.
If they can get the women to do it, I'll tell you, I gave a little tribute to mothers on Mother's Day, early Mother's Day morning, and mothers are proof positive that the women really are stronger. And what I find is that the women who send emails to me at the Coast address they email me in greater numbers than the men do. There are a lot of support from the men out there.
Oh, no, I'm not demonizing women. I'm saying the women that are statist see this government as their husband, and the men are perpetual children. I want listeners to understand something, though, because I come at this, what John was just talking about, from a position of being angry at somebody trying to make me and my family a slave. And when they're doing it to you, I take it personal. Because if it can happen to you, it can happen to me. That's called empathy, folks. You know, I mean, I see something happen to somebody else's kids by the government or a group, I take it like it's my kid. Okay, and I know why people get callous and manipulative, because it's painful to sit there and really have empathy. But you know what? You're alive when you do. And the so-called left are a bunch of authoritarians. They're an authoritarian cult. The right is their placeholder. It works with them, but it's not really a real right wing. You know, if you use that term, pro-gun, family, that's all talk too, to move the paradigm over. They're really authoritarians with a globalist, technocratic agenda. That's their own words. And they are hell-bent on radically transforming humanity into a system they control to reduce population. So this doesn't end at a good place. You know, they're not breaking eggs to make a great utopian omelet. It always creates a nightmare because that's what they want to create. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer created his own little heaven. It's a nightmare for you or I, a heaven for him. And, you know, I get up here and tell it like it is because the reality is hardcore. John B. Wells, we're going to go to break here. Got a 5-minute segment coming up, then a 12-minute segment, then a 6-minute segment, then an 18-minute segment, then a 5-minute segment. But that's what's left in the broadcast today. But I want to start going to the calls when we start the next hour. And I will go directly to them until we go through a couple boards of them. But you've heard what I've laid out here. What else is on your radar screen? And I agree with you. I've noticed it's women that are the most charged up and aggressive against the New World Order who get it. So I wasn't scapegoating women as bad. And I know you weren't saying that. I want to clarify it. Hitler said first you get the women, then you've got the children, so follow the men. As you know, 80% of advertising roughly in the West is targeted at women because women make most of the decisions. And I mean, that's the way it's been in every culture. And so that's why women are targeted. That's why I bring up the women. Your comments on that?
Yes, and I didn't mean to suggest, however obliquely, that you were doing that. So let me just make that perfectly clear. No, you were not doing that, and neither was I. What I'm saying is, ladies, here's the fact of the matter. You have more power than you think. I understand. I heard a guy say something one time. I'm going to go ahead and blurt this out, Alex, that he never heard such language coming out of people in his life, in his restaurant. And I said, what do you think is doing this? And he eventually said, the attempted exploitation of women, that's been going on for a long time. But he suggested that this was a gentleman's club mentality that these men are trying to impose on women in general, and making these, shall we say, exotic exhibitionists something to look up to, as if they have to conform to this algorithm. What I would suggest is, women, take charge of your men. I'm going to go back to scripture for very briefly. A lot of women take exception to well, you really think that we should submit to our husbands? Bad interpretation. You submit an application. If I if I say, Alex, I would submit to you that Eric Holder needs to be thrown out of his office. Submit means to bring to. All that scripture means, my interpretation of it, is that you bring your problem to the old man, tell him what you need, including if he's messing up, which he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now into the third hour of this worldwide broadcast. I'm going to cover a ton of news with John B. Wells, syndicated radio host with coasttocoastam.com. And I appreciate everybody holding. Let's go through calls for about 30 minutes, then back into news and analysis with John B. Wells. He's going to be riding shotgun with us. This is a short little segment because for years I didn't want to, stations didn't want to carry the news, so I do this 5 minutes, but it's a weird clock. We're going to be changing it to the regular clock soon for everybody, just so they know that. Steve in Florida, you're on the air. Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, Alex and John. Alex, first of all, I called to talk about the corruption of the court system, but I just wanted to say first, I can so much relate to you. I've had people say, oh, you're so fanatical. I don't understand you're the intensity, and you're driven, and it just seems like you're just so zealous for all this stuff, and it's just basically because the majority of people I encounter, they are so asleep when it comes to what's going on, and they're in the matrix instead of being outside of it, and so they can't see the truth. And, I'm reminded that God says he'll send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie, and the reason is not because God wants people believing lies, but they chose that. It's like God hardened Pharaoh's heart after Pharaoh.
Well, no, yeah, the Holy Spirit quits knocking on the door. It's like, okay, you consciously want this. But I mean, that's it. Look, being alive is intense. If I'm at home 8 o'clock at night hanging out with my wife, I'm relaxed watching a movie. But when I'm really focusing on this news and stuff, I would be giving into it because I have those thoughts where I go, maybe it's just the way it's always been. It'll be all right. It'll work itself out. But it's not. It's getting worse. John B. Wells, you ever catch yourself trying to whitewash it yourself in your own mind?
Whitewash it myself in my own mind? No, I've driven everybody crazy over the years who had the misfortune to be around me when I'm analyzing these things. No, I've been watching this for years and years, and one of the things that I'm really grateful for is that with about a 90% accuracy, I can remember little pieces of data that I just collect as time goes by, so that later I've got a bunch of dots, and I found that it's pretty easy to connect them because the big lie is right out in front.
Exactly. That's all Drudge does. The White House just goes, the Drudge report's hurting us. It only shows what they said a year ago, a month ago, last week, today, showing they're liars. They hate being called on it. They hate our memories.
Well, sure. I mean, even Rush Limbaugh. When the president says Rush Limbaugh is a problem, and there's a quote from him that from not from Limbaugh, but from our president, our current president, that something to the effect of, well, the founding. I'm paraphrasing. The founding fathers have put a system in place that makes it just a little bit harder for me to affect change than I would like. It's like, what? And then the next thing at Ohio University, he. I really got some bad emails on this one. Good. Send them. When I get a lot of flack, it's like that old bomber pilot said, when you're getting a lot of flack, generally it means you're right over the target. Our president says, reject these voices that suggest that there's a conspiracy and that the government is tyrannical, and know that our great experiment will go forward, and we're really good people up here. I'm paraphrasing him heavily, but that was the message. And I said, wouldn't it have been better if he had said, if you think that there's any tyranny creeping up on you, absolutely investigate it, look at it, because we're not about that.
But I think that backfired. I agree, because FBI says don't look at other photos of other bombers or other potential bombers, and then Obama's like, don't look at tyranny, don't believe that could ever happen. I mean, that's 180 degrees the opposite direction of common sense.
Well, it's the opposite direction of the founding fathers' doctrine. Yes.
I mean, don't look at tyranny. Trust the government. I mean, what?
Absolutely.
Don't run. We are your friends. It's like Mars Attacks, and they're shooting. People stop, and the aliens shoot them and then laugh. I mean, it might as well. I swear, if the media told the public to submit to, like, aliens eating them, they'd probably bring their kids. The aliens are here to only eat one of your children. People would line them up and go, I come in peace, eat my child. And the alien's like, thank you, I come in peace as well. Bite into him. We'll be right back with John B. Wells. Thanks, caller. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're taking phone calls right now in this open line third hour. And then we're going to continue to get into some other reports I haven't covered yet, like robbers shove homeowner in closet where he kept his guns. Important article up on Infowars.com. You can also see a promo video for some of the other gun shows I'm producing. They're going to come out in June. I'm also going to be going to Bilderberg to cover that. That should be extremely interesting. They're now announcing a free speech zone where protesters will be allowed to be in a field on the thousands of acres the Grove owns inside the gate, because they don't want you outside the gate where you can actually videotape the people. But they will have private security there doing TSA grope downs. No, thank you. I won't be going into their area. I'll be outside the gates there videotaping the globalists coming in. But that's how they work it. And everyone's, oh, they're so gracious to do this. How wonderful. They're going to stick us out in a field where we can't see anything with private security treating us like we're criminals, while globalist criminals meet in secret. But remember, now it's in the British press they're meeting, and they're going to have, you know, the feds and the military and private security out there for a group that doesn't have any power and that didn't exist before. In fact, we're going to your calls right now, but John B. Wells, again, Coast to Coast AM, talk show host, Saturday nights. What do you make of the fact that global government didn't exist? Now they have to admit it and admit that it's authoritarian. The bullets didn't exist, but now they do, but we're still kooks thinking there's a nefarious reason. Or the armored tanks didn't exist for us, but now they do. And, oh, the Army manuals for FEMA camps didn't exist, but, oh, now they do, but it's for a good reason. Or Bilderberg isn't real up until just 5-6 years ago. Now it's real, but we're bad to want to cover it. And yeah, Bill Gates is having a secret eugenics conference with world leaders, you know, this week as well. But the media doesn't need to cover that. Come on, kooks. You don't want to know what the guy that finances ABC News, NBC News, MSNBC, now they say underwritten on the stories by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I mean, what would we do without them? John B. Wells.
They're treating us like we're stupid, and we are allowing them to continue to think that we're stupid because we do not, in sufficient numbers, call their sponsors, email their sponsors, mail their sponsors, and tell them, as long as you support this, we're not buying your stuff. It's like I like to say, Alex, if you want something to go away, quit buying it, whether it's a product, whether it's a program, or whether it's an ideology.
Vote with your feet, vote with your dollars. But that's one of the last big powers we have, and we're using it. Now I want to ask you about that. CNN, a year ago, its top show had 1 million viewers. Now it's 400,000. They are in free fall. They're all in free fall. Even Fox is getting smaller, but you know, it's falling down fast, but miles above them, to quote Helter Skelter. So you've got all this happening while the real media is exploding. How are they going to deal with that?
They're not going to deal with it. I really believe what is happening is that because of you and people who are in league together in preserving this constitutional republic, these morons keep talking about it's a democracy. No, it's not. Democracy is mob rule. This is a constitutional republic. You know, you're the tip of the spear, Alex. You really are. And I'm just happy to be part of the shaft, you know. But the people are waking up. And as they wake up and as they say, hey, isn't what you're doing illegal? Well, well, let's get a TV camera over here. Again, I go back to Fox. Fox News doesn't give me any money to talk about them. I criticized a Fox reporter by name who walked past a woman who in fact had been shot by during that, you know, when the cops wounded like 9 people up in New York City over this one guy that came out. And, she didn't see a bullet hole in the woman's body and did not see any blood running out of her, so she just walked past her. So I'm not in bed with Fox News at all. I just said that of the main news outlets, I prefer them vastly over the others. But the thing is that Fox News is the only one, as far as television is concerned, mainstream television, that was even covering any of the Benghazi stuff. They're the ones that were running the hearings today. They would stop for commercials. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't just stay glued to the TV, thank God. But people are waking up. And every time we say, you're doing something that's illegal, inevitably the response is, well, I don't know. I didn't know anything about that. I mean, they just let the guy go from the IRS who was going to leave anyway at the end of June, is the last thing that I heard on it. So it's falling apart. It's falling down around their necks. And we have to keep the pressure up. You cannot get, look at the furor that occurred over the gun grab that they attempted. These politicians figured out real quick, we're going to get thrown out of office next year if we go along with this. Now, I'm not saying that all politicians are rotten. There are a few of them up there that are, they're good people and they believe in this constitutional republic, but there are many others who are just going to take what they can get, feather their own nests, and to hell with the people. I mean, the people are just useful idiots. All we need is their vote. That's all. We don't need anything else. There are a lot of them up there that are like that. They just want the power, but it's wearing thin. I believe, Alex, we're going to win. I think we may get a little bit messy. We may even get a little bit bloody, but we're going to win. Look, we're all dead anyway. Everybody's going to check out of this world at some time.
Absolutely. It comes really quick. Doesn't it seem like 5 minutes ago that you were 10 years old?
Oh, absolutely. I remember my teen years like it was 2 weeks ago. But the thing is, don't you want to stand for something while you're alive? I mean, we all went through the SDR&R thing back when we were encouraged to behave that way. Many of us have. I was a rock and roll jock in Dallas, Texas. And believe me, there was access to all sorts of things that are not good for you. But many of us have decided, if we hadn't had the encouragement and pretty much the license to behave as we did, don't think we would have done it. But people get drunk on what little bit of power that they have. And power is good. Say, it's good to be king. Even if it's of just a tiny little kingdom, it's better than being, the stable boy. People are people, and they're going to do what is in their best interest first. It takes a little bit of reaching down into the soul and saying, I can do this, but should I? What mark is it going to leave on me, on my character? What's going to be written in the book up there in the sky, metaphorically speaking?
Well, I use the gross analogy of a pool. Public pools have to have 10 times the chlorine in it, and they're unswimmable because everybody is peeing in it. And then I'll get up, if I'm at a public pool somewhere on a trip or something, and go to the restroom, and I notice no one else is doing it. I mean, why not stop? Why not start actually doing the other thing in the pool? And it's like that when everybody starts screwing everybody, and then other people think that's how you get ahead, then everybody starts doing it. The society becomes North Korea or Mexico.
Well, yes, that's absolutely true. And to allow a cadre of and when I say anti-American, what I mean is anti-constitutional republic, the only country that's ever existed in recorded history that had this kind of governance by the people, of and for the people. Any cadre of people like this that are anti-American values is about like having a peeing section in the pool.
That's right, or something else. It's even worse. It's like putting the sewage, the sewage pipe directly from the bathroom into the pool. And then who does the IRS go after? Those that, quote, teach the Constitution. That was actually in the Inspector General's, that the thing was, are they talking about the Constitution? It's like police manuals. They make frequent references to the Constitution, put them in the terror database. Cops, you swore to that, you idiot. And I know most of the cops aren't idiots and know that. It's just we're in so much trouble, man. It's so obvious the bad guys are the ones that demonize the founding documents. Let's talk to Casey.
Sure. Oh, old white guys, they call them. Who wants to listen to a bunch of old white guys? I mean, what is that?
Okay, well, they said we should be able to own guns, property, have warrants to come in our house, a lot of good stuff. I don't care if they were old purple guys or green guys. Casey in Texas, you're on the air with a couple old white guys. Go ahead, Casey.
Alex, John, first of all, thanks for having me on. John just said something that, and I was at a cross point about 3 weeks ago, something really important. Don't you want to stand for something while you're alive? And I know you don't like to be thanked, Alex. I know that, but I do have to personally thank you, and I'll tell you why. That Piers Morgan, when you were on that interview, and you said, if you try to take our guns away, the Republic will rise again. And that stuck out in my mind so much, it inspired me. I wrote a song. It's called The Republic is Gonna Rise Again. It's Gonna. It's already out on iTunes. I made a YouTube video. But that song, it pretty much covers everything, the RFID chips.
Well, yeah, and I told him, if you push too hard, you'll wake the slaves up, and then it's game over. And he had 2 million viewers that night instead of He had like 600,000 at the time. Now it's 400,000. He is hemorrhaging out, but they won't have me back on because they said we didn't like the message you put out.
I knew it was going to be big. I told my whole family. Of course, my dad's still asleep. He wouldn't listen, but, you know, I have a kid with autism, and that makes me mad enough, you know. So, but by listening to that, it really inspired me to write The Republic is Going to Rise Again. I'll tell you exactly how they're going to bring the RFID chip. And if I get killed for this, you know, they can kill my body, but real Christians don't die, so my spirit will go to heaven. But this is what they're going to do. With all these celebrities you see coming out that gun control and everything.
Oh, yeah, if a
else,
woman chops both their breasts off, all the other people run out to get it done immediately. They'll all come out and say it's the trendy thing to have a chip. That's what VeriChip said that 12 years ago they were going to use that. Go ahead.
Well, what they're going to do, they're going to use people that can influence public opinion like Oprah Winfrey, and they're going to get chipped, and they're going to say, look, I got it. Isn't it cool? You can get it too. And
they've already done that. They've already done that. They're already giving special forces chips for at least 5 years. And again, I'm sad for women that get breast cancer. I've had it in my family. It's terrible. You know, I hate it. They try to use the celebrities to say, turn your guns in. They've done that over and over and over again. But I'm glad that you raised that, because Angelina Jolie was into hurting herself, into darkness. You can look this up, into blood, into weird, dark, occultic stuff. Very screwed up young lady. I don't think she consciously, because I don't think there's evidence of that. There's companies out there promoting everybody should get this gene test that's paid for with Obamacare for $4,000 to, you know, that I agree with is a big scam. But you know, to take both their breasts off because her mother died of this out of the fear, why aren't we asking why is it exploding chemicals in the environment then triggering predisposition in genetics? We already had these genetics to have breast cancer. Why is it up a couple thousand% in the United States, leading the world in the last 50 years? Because we know it's the bisphenol A. We know it's the GMO. It gives breast cancer to female rats, to female guinea pigs. We know why. But, I mean, why wouldn't she come out and say, look at these studies on GMO? Then we could get awareness and do it. That's why I hate her, is because she's so dark and ignorant, they can get her to go along with this. I don't think she's consciously involved cutting her breast, having her both double mastectomies, because she wants to go get money so that these globalists, they're just using her to be part of this as a useful idiot. But the point is that, you know, what's next? Well, brain tumors are up, so we're going to have everybody have their brains removed. Or let's have all girls, when they hit puberty, you know, they're talking about that, have their breast removed. You know, I mean, we're losing our humanity because they're doing it on purpose. Then they hype the solution that is just a new Holocaust. 1 in 25,000 30 years ago had autism. It's 1 in 50-something. Folks, they're killing us. John B. Wells, I appreciate your call, caller. John B. Wells, your take on that.
On Angelina?
Yes, sir.
On the one hand, here's the thing. I understand how two good lawyers can go into a courtroom. One of them's going to walk out the loser. I can understand how a case can be made for things depending on the mentality and also the mentality of the judge. I think we know that Angelina Jolie is a little bit, she's a little bit out there on the edge. And there are some things about her that I admire. I mean, I admire the fact that she's a pilot, that she's had a good career. I understand she and her dad, John Voight, are a little bit crossways, probably ideologically. And that whole thing with Billy Bob Thornton and the little vials of blood that they used to wear around their necks and so forth. So, I mean, I think she's a good artist, but I think she's a little bit of a freak. But unfortunately, it goes back to that. Does life imitate art, or does art imitate life? My answer is both. First, art imitates life, and then life imitates art. And people are impressionable. Some people are going to follow. I mean, look at that bunch out there in San Diego some years ago that decided to go ahead, we'll just all check ourselves out and catch up to the UFO out there in the tail of the Hale-Bopp comet.
Yeah, Heaven's Gate.
I mean, there are, the fact of the matter is that ignorance can be cured, but stupidity is somewhat permanent.
Sure. My issue is there's never a discussion, why is autism exploding? And then, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, it's the pesticides. It's a conspiracy theory, it's the vaccines. It's a conspiracy, and I meant to ask the caller, every person I talk to, When did it happen? Why is it a boy? Because the boys don't have strong blood-brain barriers like girls. Any doctor will tell you a baby girl of any mammal species is stronger than a male because women got to be able to, deal with infection, you name it. Women have a stronger blood-brain barrier. As surgeons will tell you, women quit bleeding quicker. Women are tougher. Women are better overall. That they're soft and sweet because they're nurturative. Men are there to compete with each other for the species and to defend women physically and to fight and to die to build a civilization. Okay, and then women are humanity. They're the ones that create the children, the whole deal. They have the mitochondrial DNA. They have more genetics than men do. And of course, men and women make the species, but the women, I'd say, are 2/3 of the species, and that's why it's under attack. And so let's not ask why our women are all getting breast cancer, why it's up 2,000, 3,000%, why the U.S. leads it worldwide. Let's just go chop the women's breast off. I mean, again, it's out of control. We need to say, why is it happening? Why? Not sever your breast. You could just get some other cancer, folks.
That's right. And Alex, this civilization of ours has been referred to repeatedly as our grand experiment. And I would submit to you and the audience that...
Mad scientists are running it?
Well, yes, to a degree.
I'm sorry, grand experiment.
No, I'm with you. That's really kind of where I was headed. It's the next experiment is to see what it will take to dismantle a free society. People aren't even aware that, and I don't want to offend any servicemen out there, but I went through the Vietnam era. I carried a 1A draft card. Sorry about that. They just never called me up. It's the only reason I didn't go. It's probably good that I didn't. I'd probably still be in Lucy's Tiger Bar somewhere. Or Tiger Den. But the thing is we now have a mercenary army. And when I watch these commercials roll over, I mean, let's just think about what we're seeing and how numbed our brains and our perceptions are becoming. If you look at, and I mentioned them before, the Fox News outfit, I'm looking at that, and the next thing that I see is either a Wounded Warrior Project, which of course our soldiers should be helped. Anybody should be helped.
But they shouldn't be sent for 5, 6, 7 tours and given deadly drugs. But then the answer is, oh, feel sorry for them.
Absolutely.
Like that makes it okay. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, and then speaking of drugs, the next thing is that, did you take any of these drugs that, by the way, the FDA approved? Well, if you suffered death, dismemberment, injury, or otherwise, you may be entitled to money damages. Here, call this law firm. We specialize in this stuff every day. And then, oh, this medication has minimum sexual side effects while it controls my depression. And here's something else. And you listen to all these diseases that you may be liable to contract if you take this drug. And by the end of the commercial, you're asking yourself, why would I take such a thing? From beautiful toenails to, I've got COPD, to, I mean, pick something, some ailment, real or imaginary. There's a drug for it. And the next thing you see is, oh, it's a bad drug. Call this attorney. This experiment is turning somewhat nasty. I do believe that we will win. I really do. But we're going to have to wake up the army. People are going to have to go. You can't just get mad in spurts. There are a lot of screens up. I understand this. There are a lot of issues to deal with. IRS, gun control, immigration, and let's see, what are you feeding us? Why does the state make people put fluoride back in their water after the municipalities decided we're getting rid of it? UCLA released a study 3 or 4 months ago that said, fluoride in water retards the mental development of children, period, end of story. It does. Well, it's still in there. So we have to rise up. We simply have to rise up. We have to do something. Your government is not your friend.
And that's the thing. The public's already so mentally deficient now from 60 years of hydrofluorosilicic acid, fluoride, that they can't even get upset. And if you go to the city council with Harvard scientists, they literally, the mayor laughs and they all will turn their chairs around and giggle.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, these guys' grandkids are all getting their pineal gland shot. But it's like they think laughing about it will keep them safe. So the banks are like, we'll take their pension funds. They're going to laugh at that too. But hey, they said NATO can be the command of the military now. How about just say the military's now in command?
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, it's all just like, you know, I've been there, and I've seen the videos when we fly in, Harvard scientists and you know, you name it, and it's in the New York Times having to admit, okay, 20-something studies, it doubles this cancer, sevenfold the bone cancer, brain damage, destroys the sperm, blah, 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 diabetes, blah, blah. And then I go to the city council. Here is the scientist who just give this, and the city council goes, we're going to be in our chambers. You go ahead and have your citizens communication. And the mayor laughs, and you're like, I mean.
Well, men like you, myself, who talk about these things, put our faces out there for everybody to see, use our real names for everybody to know. All we can do, Alex, is be the coaches. We're going to be the ones who get fired if the team doesn't win. But in the end, it's the team members. It's their fight. It's all of our fight, but it's the team members out there. They're the ones that have to do it.
Got some financial news I want to hit. I want to play a piece of a newscast where robbers shove homeowner in closet where he kept his guns. Yeah, you don't want to shove me in my closet. Get in there. Get in the closet. Oh, really? In this closet right here where I've got like 8 handguns and a shotgun? Oh, okay. Let me. This is terrible that you've locked me up in here. And then he shot him. And the media, the newscast is, police are not going to be charging the homeowner. Always that implication. You know, if you stab somebody in your own home who's raping you, you can pull up the BBC articles, they then indict you. You've heard the stories here where the robber falls through the skylight, sues and wins. You need to have robber-safe skylights up there so that they don't fall through and break their leg. And it's because criminals now run the system at many levels. And they want to be protected. It's like they've gotten rid of all the IRS enforcers on billionaires and people. That's why they're allowed to be tax exempt, because it's all selectively enforced. But you make $200,000 a year, oh, they're going to rake you over the coals. There's no way. They've written the tax code. That's in the news today, where it's impossible. It's impossible to ever pay it where they can't later claim you did something wrong and give you penalties and interest. It's the whole thing. I was talking to a police detective the other day, and he said, look, here in Austin, he said, look, he goes, we're not allowed to go after the motorcycle gangs, the particular ones he was naming, because, you know, the government lets them run the drugs. The argument is, so the worst, you know, Mexican drug cartels that are even more ruthless don't control it. That's what Brzezinski writes about in a couple of his books I read. Yes, we control the criminal networks because then we can control it and not let it get too out of hand. I mean, that's always the excuse. We grow the opium so the Taliban doesn't get it. And then they increase it, you know, 10 times the production at least. Look that up. 93% of world opium production since the U.S. liberated Afghanistan from like 9% of world production. And you know, he's sitting there telling me this, and I already knew all this, but I mean, I've talked to LAPD detectives. I even have been at events several times that had like the real... You hear about the legendary Vikings, the police gang out in L.A. Let me tell you, you're hanging around with the biggest Hollywood stars. That's who's around, folks. And that's why those Hollywood stars are basically above the law, because it's all gangsterism. And the thing is, they're not naive. Then they're like, well, I don't like what we do, but, you know, if we didn't do it, somebody else would. It's like that argument. But then once you give into that, the sky's the limit. I'm going back to calls with Yote, Eric, Phil, and others. But what's your take on what I was just saying there? Because there's this argument of you guard the good by being more evil than the evil. Well, when you dance with the devil, he doesn't change, you change.
Well, as long as we're going to mention the devil is the master deceiver. So, of course, they've got to have some argument. That goes back to what I mentioned earlier about 2 lawyers go in and one of them walks out the loser. They're both equally qualified. I think the best way to address that, Alex, is just to say that I got some flack over this, which, of course, I'm delighted when I get flack from the left wing, because that means I tweaked them up and raised their blood pressure, and I like doing that. A quote from Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged, when she was talking to one of the characters. There's a dialogue in the story, and the man said, "You're not up against a bunch of Boy Scouts up here. We want power, and we're going to get it. What's in it to have a law-abiding society? Nothing. A government can't control innocent men. So what you do is you continue to concoct laws and make everyone guilty of something, because the only thing that the state can do is come down and crush the criminal."
And then they leave escape hatches for themselves, and they're exempt.
Always, always. I think that some of these people up in Washington right now, names that we both know, I think they need to go to jail. I think they need their assets sealed. And I would just take this opportunity to say, people, take your power back. If you want to bring this nonsense to a halt, defund it. They can't do anything without money. You have a mercenary army now. I don't give a damn what anybody thinks about that. It's a fact. Do you see Jack Reacher? We used to read the great books and so forth, and we still do, but some of the script writers are very, very good. And
No,
Reacher,
I saw Reacher. That was a good movie.
You remember what he said? Well, he's talking about the sniper, and he said, some people join the army because they want to serve. Some of them kind of have to do it. They need a job. But some of them do it as a legal means of killing people. And so I would submit to you that there is a measurable percentage of persons in the force department. The first time they stopped calling them peace officers and stopped talking about law and order, and it became law enforcement. That was the first flag that was raised.
And the police force.
Yes, the police force, not the police department, the police force. All you have to do to take the wind out of these sails is defund it.
Well, but they stage things or let things happen so they get more funding, and then they kick the good people out, because there are people that join because of family history. There are people that join because of an instinct to serve and defend, like Pat Tillman. There are people that join because they need the money. There are people that join because they want to be psychopaths and kill people. But there's also people, like I have family that I knew 20 years ago when they joined the Army were one person, because I'd go hunting, fishing with them. And after, it's not even now, it's like Hurt Locker. They have been in so much combat, seen so many things, they're not awake till they get in a firefight. They're not awake till they come out of helicopters, and all over the world. They're not awake till they're in a knife fight with somebody. They're not awake till they're stripping down an engine and fixing it real fast. They're not awake till they go climbing up a mountain. They're not awake till they get in a barroom fight. They're not awake till they, and the big thing is, it's not even that they want, it's just they want to kill. But it's not just in a psychopathic way. They want to be being shot back at as well. So that group I can even halfway respect, but they're creatures of long-term, really post-traumatic stress disorder. But instead of collapsing in it, they thrive in it. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, I do. And you had a story. I think you were the first one with the story on InfoWars about the classification that Janet Napolitano has put on returning vets. So it's just like going back to scripture. That's what the devil does. If he can't get you a drug overdose and kill you, he'll settle for 5 years of hard time for intent to distribute. The evil dark force will use you, and they'll pin medals on you, and they'll pat you on the back and tell you, "Great job, son. Great job, gal." And then as soon as your usefulness is spent, he'll just throw you under the bus, just bump you off. You're done. Next. That's what's going on now with these health issues. They don't want us living into our 80s and 90s or any of that. They want us. No. They want to extract about 30 years of productivity.
No, I've had the scientist on. They inject the troops on record with experimental vaccines that have virus plaques that embed in the cells that are designed to trigger when hormone levels go down. And then you get cancer 55, 60 when they're done with you. I mean, we're all being given time-delayed death bombs, basically.
Alex, if this thing is allowed to go as far as it could go, what you will have is in the same way that I said, one of these days you're going to be looking, I understand Japan's already done it, actually. You'll be looking at a news anchor that you think is a real person, and it's not. It's a beautifully done computer.
They've already announced that. The president doesn't just have robo-signers. They're saying next year they've already got it built. a 3D projection of Obama that they just type the words in, and then he can appear anywhere to school kids, whatever, and they'll kind of think they saw Obama.
Well, some of these visionaries like Lucas and the Star Wars thing, there very well may be a war of the clone wars. Once they decide, we only want these people. We don't want that type. We don't want this body type. We don't want that appearance. We don't want that hair color. They can do that. Do you know that this thing that was science fiction maybe 10 years ago, which of course that means it's been investigated and experimented with for years. Now they're actually able to target races with fatal diseases.
Race-specific bioweapons, yeah. Expanding, they came out yesterday and went, oh, we can now clone. And then you read the fine print, because I remember reading it 16 years ago. 16 years ago in BBC, it first admitted in London, they admitted clones of humans, but they go, it's okay, we don't bring them to term. And now they go, well, we bring them to term, but that's classify what we do, but they're part animal, so they don't have rights. So the shampoo says no bunny rabbits were tested on. You're like, oh, good. But then you understand there are humanoid creatures they brought to term. This is in the literature. But the news only, and again, this is getting into like, regular coast-to-coast AM type stuff, but that's not speculation in the medical literature. And now they're going, these new clones can be brought to term. And they're telling us about 25, 30-year-old stuff, my friend.
Let me tell you, you go back to Anthony Burgess and you go back to the guy who wrote Clockwork Orange and another book he wrote called The Wanting Seed, and all of these visionaries, Bradbury and Asimov and Heinlein. This is going to happen. I can imagine a futuristic a la science fiction scenario where you have the power elite who remain at the peak of their physical development.
Oh yeah, no, that's it.
And then they rotate the clones through. They got a life expectancy.
Oh, no. They say you're going to have money to be able to go and just live. Because again, you're going to have to pay for the genetic treatment so your breasts don't have to be cut off.
Well, sure. And we can either wait and just kind of watch this unfold as William Wallace said in the picture again. You'll live for a while and just watch this unfold, or we can decide what are the pillars of civilization. Go back to the ancient philosophers who were trying to write down in permanence what makes a good life and cling to that. Or let these idiots have their way, these evil, stupid people.
Who, by the way, like you said, their fruits are rivers of rotting scrofulous. I mean, rivers of stinking failure.
Yes. Endless failures. The society is getting worse and worse, and yet in the great balance of things, I really believe the people are waking up, and those who will not wake up, we're not going to be able to wake them up. They will oppose you, they will oppose me, they will oppose anything that constitutes any sort of moral character.
Because they lust after degeneracy. They get off on it. They're saying it's going to be a wonderful future. Yote in Kansas, you're on the air. Go ahead. Thanks for holding.
Awesome.
Yes,
so glad to talk to you. Okay, the phone is acting funny. So much you guys are talking about. You are the tip of the spear. The other day you said you're the preacher. You should be the chief. You should be there in skins. The contest is awesome. They probably want to tear your guts out like William Wallace. I recently had a little baby girl, and my wife's mother is super strong. Just like the strong women you're talking about, really intelligent, and would never say that she is. We opted out not to vaccinate. The next day, the doctor came out and said, oh, I saw that you're not going to vaccinate your baby. She could be a threat to society. And he just wanted to engage me, and my wife was like, oh, you shouldn't have engaged him. He just wants to show you that you're smarter. My father never, he's of the same age of the gentleman that's on there today. He was a coast-to-coast listener. He's not here anymore. He loved all those writers he was just talking about. And he always told me and my brother, do not be in the military. Don't be part of it. My brother was accepted to the Air Force Academy. He hated it. We're with you. Don't talk about leaving. Talk with power. You got to fight. You're the...
No, I know. I just get depressed by watching them hurt innocent people. And again, my empathy is my strength. It's your strength. But it hurts because it's so obvious now. And how much more obvious when I got up this morning and Watson said, have you seen this? And I went and looked at it and looked at the documents. And I went, my God, they're going to say the military is now outside even the president. I mean, it's just, that even shocked me. It's so over the top, and that it's moving this quick. And it's really kind of a nostalgia for freedom and then realizing things are only going to get worse before they get better. It's just wishing this didn't have to happen. You know, it's kind of like that feeling where the light turns green, you drive out. This has happened to me once, and you look over and some idiot ran the red light going 50 miles an hour, and it's like only 2 seconds, but it seems like 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And you think, man, I wish I'd have looked. I wish that idiot wouldn't have run that red light. And then you start gripping the steering wheel and gripping your teeth, going, oh, man, I can't believe people. And it's like a big, long thought goes on about, man, why didn't I do it? Why are they? Look at them. Oh, my God, they're talking on their, phone. Or oh, my gosh, oh, there's kids in the back seat. I hope they don't get hurt. Oh, man, this is just, I wish this wasn't going to happen. Boom! I mean, and that is exactly what it's like. I'm just sitting there going, oh, this is really... And so many other cars have hit us that weren't as big. Now bigger and bigger ones are smashing into us. And I'm like, when do we get off this merry-go-round? When do people get out of their trance? Because the thing is, as it gets worse and worse, more people are only going to give into it more. Like, you're going to have a splitting. Those of us that get more awake and people that just will buy anything, John.
Yes, they will. And the reason that I brought up the mercenary, the mercenary army part is that I don't want anybody to get, there are some fine law enforcement people out there. I know some of them and I like them. There are some nice, excellent people.
But evil is in control of the system.
Well, I don't think anyone should be under any illusions that the police and the military won't fire on citizens. They will. They've done it before. Look what happened in Boston. Oh, did you see the part about the Marks-a-Lot message inside the cabin of the boat? Where,
yeah, huh?
I mean, how ludicrous is this? It reminds me of that so-called suicide note that Vince Foster left behind after his...
and then they say, oh, he confessed while in the hospital drugged. It must be true. They could blow something up and grab me and say that.
I thought that was deplorable, the way those people were treated. These guys run out with their hands over their heads in their boxer shorts. Had to abandon their sweet or salty snacks in front of the TV. These guys are pointing machine guns at him. The guy tries to put his hands down. Another guy yells at him while he's pointing this M4 at him. That makes my blood boil. And I'll tell you something. I have been tempted to leave this country and not come back. But I'll tell you what, these SOBs aren't going to make me leave my country. I'm staying.
God bless you. Absolutely. There's nowhere to run anyways. If it keeps getting worse, I'm going to get my family out of here, though. Eric in North Carolina, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. How's it going, buddy?
Good. Go ahead. Thanks for holding.
I think your guest is right in that this is all going to start with the money. And that brings me to my next prediction. I think the next Federal Reserve Chairman is going to be an African-American financier by the name of Roger Ferguson. This will be effective because when the Federal Reserve sells all of its treasury bonds and other stuff that it's bought with newly printed money, that's going to create a mass amount of destabilization, volatility, and it's going to be effective to have an African-American financier right there, as the Federal Reserve.
Because then they could say it's racist if you don't like them taking your bank account.
Exactly. It'll keep at bay the angst and the anger that will be foisted on that institution.
Well, he is vice chairman of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and is currently the president of the chief executive of the Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association. We'll see. Did you get a tip on this, or why do you think that?
It's the media. I see the media grooming him through interviews that I see on CNBC, and the way they end their interview with him. The anchors are like, oh, he didn't say he wouldn't. He didn't say he wouldn't be the Federal Reserve Chairman. So I see them pre-programming us in a way that we'll expect that he might.
And then the racists don't like it because they can go, a black guy did it. Bernanke was doing a good job till that black guy got in there.
Jakari Jackson here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPure, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at InfoWarsStore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. the ever-popular grab-and-go-bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com. And don't forget, it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at InfoWars.com/newsletter.
Comes as a man of peace. All right, I'm going to go back to your phone calls right now. A little bit of overdrive. Mr. Wells is going to leave us here in a moment, but I'll get to all the callers at least that are on the board. Tonight we're going to premiere that Man on the Street with Jakari Jackson, where he went out and talked to 30 people. 20 of them wouldn't talk to him. 10 talked to him. 4 of the 10, 40%, that talked to him in 15 minutes. We don't just go out and do this all day to find what we want. We go out for 15 minutes, and that's what happens. 4 of the 10 people said they want to kill children up to age 3 because it's women's choice. That's going to air tonight, and it just shows how whacked out things are. You've heard 9 out of 10 in Austin say ban water for the earth, if Al Gore says so. You've heard him say confiscate all gun owners' guns, put us in labor camps, basically. I didn't get to the robbers shove homeowner in closet where he kept his guns. That video's up on Infowars.com. Pretty powerful pro-gun stuff there. Well, Sunday is going to be Clip Central, 4 to 6 p.m. In studio next Monday, Joel Skousen's going to be here. We're going to have next week the big interview with Mike Judge where he got political because the hour is running out here. The time is short. So just a lot of surprises coming up on the nightly news and everywhere else. If you're not a PrisonPlanet.tv subscriber, it's 15 cents a day, and you get 11 memberships a month for that. It's like 55 cents a person per month. This is because one membership is really 11. PrisonPlanet.tv. Again, I want to thank John B. Wells for spending so much time with us today. Let's take another call here. Phil in Texas, who's been holding in a long march. Thank you, Phil. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex and John. A huge fan of you guys. Just wanted to talk about the Open Carry March on July 4th. I'm really concerned about it just because so much on the line, and I feel like it's maybe not being gone about in the best way, just because at this point you kind of have to expect the provocateur or the bomb, or you know what I mean? Well, here's the deal.
I've never done an armed march on Washington, but the Supreme Court ruled 5 years ago that it's unconstitutional for them to prohibit the Second Amendment there, but they're still doing it. So I admire Adam Kokesh for his courage. I have said that I would just have a camera if I was there, but then he's like, well, thank you for endorsing it. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not endorsing it, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm not going to demonize him and sit there and snipe, is my point. And we can't, well, we better not go out and protest. They might provocateur us there. A right not exercised is a right that's lost. So I have mixed feelings about it. John B. Wells, what do you think?
What I think is this. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one. I don't understand all of these contradictions. It's this has taken a long time to get to this point. Let me just submit this to you, Alex, and to the listeners. This is a short paragraph. The worth of a people, the character of its internal organization, which through this worth of a people may produce its effect, and the character of a people's education, these are the starting points for political action. These are the foundations for the success of that action. When you consider, we were just talking earlier about how fast the time is going by and how it seems like 2 weeks ago we were in our teens. The game is well underway, and we're way behind.
Yeah, I see one of the callers wants to talk about solutions. The solution is stop complying with tyranny. Enforce against it. Get angry at it. Cops walk over and say you can't film in public. Say, it's America, First Amendment. You film us. Stop acting like slaves or you'll become them. But you were getting to the point about that quote, and the break cut you off about the Constitution, and the establishment doesn't care about our Constitution. John B. Wells.
Yes. That quote that I read is from the book My New Order. That was Adolf Hitler talking. And so I would say that, and just connecting the dots here, Women, get your men by their earlobes and gently tug them. Go to the PTA meeting. Sit down and read the books that your children are being issued in their schools. It took a long time for Hitler to rise to power. And the reason I've come back to Adolf Hitler is because he had one amazing juggernaut of a machine working for him. And what was behind it? Money. You see ThyssenKrupp elevators. That's Fritz Thyssen's company, the billionaire who bankrolled Hitler. That's Krupp, the cannon maker. You see AEG, Siemens, Merck. These are all Nazi-era companies. And I'll also tell you, as you know, Alex, and thanks to you, many of your listeners know it, IBM did business with the Nazis the entire duration of the war.
And it turns out he was basically their creation. You know, and again, that's a shadow of what they think of you. Bayer, same thing, shipping out HIV, AIDS blood.
Yes.
They know what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, and they are cold-blooded. That's what unites them, and it's unbelievable. Here's a quote I partially gave yesterday. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on being received for good or evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. Let's jam in one final caller because I want to hear this. We got Morrissey, I think is what that says, wants to talk about predictions. Go ahead. Maurice, go ahead.
Yes, gentlemen, how are you? Thank you very much for allowing me to get on.
Thank you, brother. Don't thank us.
Kudos to both of you. Around the same time, not your show, which I wasn't able to watch, or your radio program, Alex, because it's not broadcast in South Florida, but videos via YouTube, as well as Coast to Coast, which I just happened across because I was working midnights around the time of 9/11. Both programs were responsible for opening my eyes, and I just want to thank both of you. Art Bell, indirectly, as he was leaving the programming, George and John, yourself. I just wanted to say God bless both of you. Understand that there are a lot of people who have you, your family, your extended family, that is the people that you work with and their families, in thoughts and prayers. Really quick, I wanted to just throw out if maybe either of your shows could at some point have a guest or a number of guests on that help individuals that are struggling with the dilemma of people that are very close to them, immediate family, so to speak, who don't have their eyes wide open and their ears.
Sure, we need to do some basic shows about the history of the New World Order, what its goals are, you name it. CaravanToMidnight.com, JBWells.com. JB Wells, all the callers, everybody, sorry to a few callers we can't get to. Back Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Alex. Take care.
There goes John B. Wells. I am your host, Alex Jones, signing off for now. Very special stuff tonight on InfoWars Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.